I do want to hit a couple of other things because we're running a little tight. Let's do Glenn Greenwald and then the bad, but this is really important. Basically, a couple of months ago, as soon as Glenn Greenwald and The Intercept Brazil revealed the corruption of the Lava Jato task force in the prosecution of Lula, there was indications from the Bolsonaro government and Judge Moro, who's Bolsonaro's attorney general, the corrupt judge who targeted Lula in the politically motivated case, that they were going to open up a criminal investigation into Glenn Greenwald. The Supreme Court actually sort of basically told them to back off because, of course, it's going to eliminate any last vestige of even pretend press freedom in Brazil. And sure enough, they've announced charges against Greenwald. We're going to cover this a lot more on the show. Apparently, there was no actual investigation here. And this is a 90-something page document of accusations without evidence. Glenn Greenwald, who, again, I have to say, enormously courageous guy. This was his response to it.
Hi, this is Glenn Greenwald with The Intercept, and by now you've probably heard the news that there has been a criminal charge brought against me by the Bolsonaro government in retaliation for the series of journalistic exposés we've been publishing and reporting since last June, showing high-level corruption in the Bolsonaro government, in particular by his Minister of Justice and Public Security, Sergio Moro. A few facts about this criminal charge. First is that, as you probably know, the Bolsonaro government, President Bolsonaro, multiple members of his government simply don't believe in a free press. They don't believe in press freedom. They don't even believe in democracy. They've repeatedly and explicitly praised the military dictatorship that ruled the country until 1985 as a superior form of government, and this is all about ushering in that level of repression. Secondly, the prosecutor who brought the charges just a couple of months ago unsuccessfully tried to bring similar charges against the head of the Brazilian Bar Association, who criticized Minister Sergio Moro, and he tried to claim that that criticism constituted a crime in Brazil, and it was rejected by the courts. He's obviously somebody abusing his prosecutorial power to punish the political enemies of the Bolsonaro government. Third, the federal police conducted a comprehensive investigation of our reporting, of our sources, and concluded in a report published just a couple of months ago that everything shows that I never committed any crime. Much to the contrary, I always exercised what they called the highest level of professionalism, caution, and responsibility in ensuring that I was doing my work as a journalist and never got anywhere near a crime. We're going to defend a free press like we always have. We're not going to be intimidated by the Bolsonaro government. I'm continuing right this very minute to work on our next series of stories. This is an attack on Brazilian democracy.
Incredible. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, Glenn, not despite anything. I think there is like
There's
the implication.
No despite,
Like, there's an there is always this like I think impulse that is indoctrinating to people like, oh, if like you have to provide some caveat when you're defending somebody on the left or when you're defending somebody who's outside the status quo. But no, Glenn is a courageous journalist. He puts himself on his life on the line, in ways that his critics could never even imagine doing. Most of his critics are just they're pundits and talking heads, and he does real journalism. And I would just think that I would say that people's inability to recognize the difference between someone like Glenn Greenwald and the work that he does and say someone like Joyanne Reed or any of the number of his detractors is, it speaks volumes about where journalism is in America, where it's like someone who's doing real journalism, real hard-hitting stuff is like, he's just a concern troll. He's a troll online, X, Y, and Z. When, we have fetishes for like MSNBC and they're like whatever, I don't know what you call what they do at this point.
Right.
So
I totally, and I mean, again, it's not like, of course you can disagree with Glenn on any number of things. I disagree with Glenn on some things, but that just is not the point. Yeah. And it does not require any caveat. It's mostly ridiculous. And also I'll just make a really qualitative difference. I mean, Glenn has never for a second been anything other than fiercely critical of the actual crimes and sins of the Trump administration, including on foreign policy, including on immigration, and so on, like the really core, undeniable issues, right? And so, sure, if there was some look, free speech and journalism do need to be defended. Period. So even if it was some actual person that defended these obscene things and they were getting hit with a charge like this, we'd have to support them. But like, I just don't think disagreeing with, impeachment or going on Fox. I mean, I'm sorry. It just it compared to the weight of what he does, it just gets ridiculous. Especially because those arguments have been aired and they continue to be aired. It's just not a time for any equivocating.
And they continue to be
serious.
They continue to be selectively applied. Like, they continue to be selectively applied to people who are in some ways resisting the status quo. But when you actually support it, like, you can do whatever you want. I mean, we do have stuff like that happening in the United States. It's just not happening to like far right people. It's happening to Chelsea Manning is still in jail.
Absolutely.
Edward Snowden is still in exile.
That's right.
Julian Assange is still being held. And so, like, one of the first things UN
Special Rapporteur said he's being tortured.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the first things I thought when I heard about Glenn was that, oh my God, I hope he's okay. But the second thing was, like, you can't even say it wouldn't happen in America.
Right.
Like, for all of the talk about like fascism in Brazil and how America's so great about these things, or at least trying. It's like, you couldn't say that wouldn't happen in America. You couldn't say it wouldn't happen in America under Obama. No. A lot of that happened in America under Obama. So, like, really, there is this global move to punish journalism, to punish whistleblowers, to punish anyone who is resisting this rise of neo-fascism, this rise, whatever neoliberal impulses, the neoconservative impulses America has. And it's not spreading, it's just metastasized all over the world at this point. It's like, it's hard to deny that we are, as a country, waging a war on, we're waging a war on journalism, we're waging a war on whistleblowers it spans the past 30 years, and it can't be reduced just to Trump. It can't be reduced just to Republicans, and it can't be reduced to fake news. It's
And by the way, right, like, I mean, again, yes, Trump, of course, is a massive threat to these things. So don't renew the fucking Patriot Act. Exactly. Understand the implications. I don't care. You don't like Julian Assange, whatever. The charges against Julian Assange are related to the Manning disclosures, period. That's a threat to all freedom of the press, David.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to jump on that. All these people, all these pundits, especially pundits on MSNBC, who have been, making a big to-do about Donald Trump saying, critical things about the New York Times. And don't get me wrong, Donald Trump would love to be able to shut down the free press if he could. But it starts to show how narcissistic a lot of that was when you actually see, as you were saying, Julian Assange is getting, attacked in the United States. Chelsea Manning is still in prison.
Chelsea Manning is still in prison.
Still in prison, is having more and more fines racking up every day. And now Glenn Greenwald, who is literally standing up, like literally is the embodiment of like the idea of a journalist standing up against a tyrannical government. And these people, there's a certain segment of the population, and especially of like the kind of like left MSNBC pundit class that can't stand behind it. God damn it. Like, get yourself together and stop being such a narcissist and take this seriously if you've been saying that this is a serious issue.
They're nursing personal grievances. They're nursing personal grievances with Glenn Greenwald and sometimes Julian Assange, whether they like him or hate him, I guess, or hate him or just simply don't like him. But I think that speaks to a lot of their politics. Like, their politics are rooted in like very weird personal petty grievances and slights against them as a person, which they sometimes extrapolate to be slights against like whole groups of people they may be able to index, but it's really just about them. It is about like Glenn Greenwald was one time mean to me online, and so I don't like want to support him.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.